From silly to straight up deadly, these 23 car myths fool even the savviest drivers. Some just mess with your ride, but others can torch your car or worse. Stick around, because the final myth is so reckless, it's putting thousands of lives at risk every year. Alright, let's start with the totally wacky myths and ramp up to the real scary ones from there. Myth number 23, the cell phone explosion myth. You've probably seen the warning signs at gas stations telling you not to use your phone while filling up. The idea is simple: one call, one spark, and boom, a fireball at the pump. But here's the truth: there's never been a single confirmed case of a cell phone causing a gas station explosion. So where did this myth come from? Back in the 90s, chain emails and tabloid stories started circulating about supposed cell phone fires. The problem is, investigators later found out most of these accidents were caused by static electricity, not phones. Even experts at major safety organizations like the Petroleum Equipment Institute and the Federal Communications Commission have debunked this claim. They confirm that while static sparks are real, your phone simply doesn't pack the punch needed to ignite gasoline vapors. That doesn't mean your phone is totally risk-free at the pump. Gas stations prefer you stay off it because distractions can make you forget important steps like actually shutting off your engine or noticing a fuel spill. But as for your phone igniting the fumes, that's pure Hollywood fiction. But if you thought this myth was overblown, wait until you hear the next one, because it could actually cost you real money at every single fill-up. Myth number 22. Filling up in the morning saves money. You might have heard this one from a smart saver friend. Always fill your tank in the morning when it's cooler, because gas is denser and you'll get more fuel for the same price. Sounds clever, right? The problem is, it's completely false. The truth is, gasoline is stored underground in massive tanks where temperatures barely change throughout the day. Whether it's early morning or late afternoon, the fuel coming out of that nozzle is basically the same temperature and the same density. This myth likely spread because people confuse surface level temperature changes with what's happening below ground. But fuel systems are designed to keep gasoline stable, which means no matter what time you pump, you're getting exactly what you paid for. Here's the kicker: the only time this myth might work is if you're buying fuel straight from a small container left out in the sun. At gas stations, though, it makes zero difference. But wasting a few pennies at the pump isn't nearly as dangerous as our next myth, because this one involves something drivers do at red lights every single day. Myth number 21. Premium gas boosts mileage. Many drivers believe that using premium gas will instantly make their car run smoother and deliver better fuel economy. After all, premium sounds like an upgrade, right? But unless your car specifically requires it, you're basically just burning money. Premium gas has a higher octane rating, which means it resists knocking in engines designed for high performance. If your owner's manual says regular unleaded, then filling up with premium won't give you extra power, better mileage, or cleaner emissions. It's the same ride, just more expensive. This myth sticks around because car owners often assume that higher quality fuel must equal better performance. But automakers design engines to work with specific fuels, and putting in something higher grade doesn't change the engine's mechanics. The real winners here are the oil companies, cashing in on drivers who think premium equals premium results. For most cars, it's a waste of dollars with zero benefit. But if you think that myth was costly, wait until you hear the next one, because it could lead to dangerous habits at the wheel. Myth number 20. Overfilling gets you more gas. Some drivers top off their tank until the pump clicks 2 or 3 times, thinking they're squeezing in extra fuel for their money. But the reality, you're not getting more gas. You're risking damage. Modern gas pumps are designed with a vapor recovery system. Once the tank is full, any extra squeeze doesn't add fuel. It just sends vapors back into the pump or into your car's charcoal canister. That means the extra you think you're buying is either wasted or harming your vehicle. This myth likely started back when fuel systems were less sophisticated, and drivers believed they could outsmart the pump. But today, overfilling doesn't just waste cash. It can cause leaks, damage emission systems, and even trigger the check engine light. So instead of beating the system, you're actually setting yourself up for costly repairs down the road. But if you thought losing a few dollars to this myth was bad, the next one could actually shorten the life of your engine. Myth number 19. Retread tires are unsafe. Retread tires have a bad reputation. Many people assume they're ticking time bombs just waiting to blow out on the highway. But the truth is, when done properly, retread tires are just as safe as brand new ones, and they've been used for decades by airlines, buses, and trucking companies. The myth probably comes from seeing shredded tire pieces on the road. But in most cases, those gators don't come from retreads. They come from underinflated or overloaded tires of any kind. Improper maintenance is usually the real culprit, not the retreading process itself. In fact, modern retread technology is tightly regulated, with inspections, quality checks, and safety standards that rival new tire production. For many drivers and fleets, retreads are not only safe, but also more affordable and eco-friendly. So while the myth makes retreads sound risky, the evidence shows they're a reliable option, as long as they're maintained just like any other tire. And speaking of myths that hit your wallet, the next one might surprise you, because it's about something sitting right in your trunk. Myth number 18, sidewall pressure is correct. Many drivers believe the number printed on a tire's sidewall is the correct pressure to inflate to, but that number isn't the recommended pressure, it's the maximum the tire can safely handle. Your car's actual recommended tire pressure is usually lower, and can be found on the sticker inside the driver's door or in the owner's manual. Inflating all the way to the sidewall number can make your ride stiff, reduce traction, and wear out your tires unevenly. This myth has lasted so long because that big bold number on the sidewall looks like official advice. In reality, it's just a safety limit, not an everyday target. So if you want better handling, longer tire life, and even improved fuel efficiency, stick to the pressure recommended by your vehicle, not the sidewall. But if you think tire myths are confusing, wait until you hear the next one. It's about oil, and millions of drivers still get it wrong. Myth number 17. Older engines need thicker oil. A lot of drivers swear by this one. Once your car hits high mileage, you should switch to thicker oil to protect the engine. But that's not necessarily true, and in some cases, it can do more harm than good. Modern engines are built with tight tolerances, meaning they're designed to run on a specific grade of oil. Switching to a thicker type can actually reduce lubrication, strain the engine, and hurt performance. This myth comes from older cars that leaked or burned oil as they aged, so mechanics recommended thicker oil as a quick fix. But with today's engines and advanced oil technology, sticking to the manufacturer's recommendation is almost always the smarter move. The only time thicker oil might make sense is if your car is experiencing serious wear or oil consumption problems. And even then, it should be done with a mechanic's guidance, not as a blanket rule. And while oil myths can drain your wallet, the next one takes things even further, because it questions whether you even need to change it at all. Myth number 16. Oil change every 3,000 miles. For decades, drivers were told to change their oil every 3,000 miles, or risk blowing the engine. Quick lube shops loved this rule because it kept cars rolling in for service. But for most modern vehicles, it's outdated advice. Today's engines are far more efficient, and modern synthetic oils are engineered to last much longer, often 5,000, 7,500, or even 10,000 miles between changes. Sticking to the 3,000-mile rule usually just means wasting money and creating more used oil for disposal. This myth lingers because it was once true for older cars that ran on conventional oil. But with technology advancing, manufacturers now publish recommended service intervals that make the old every 3,000 miles standard completely unnecessary. So instead of following a decades-old myth, check your owner's manual. That's where you'll find the real schedule designed for your specific car and oil type. But if you thought oil change myths were expensive, the next one could be downright risky, because it deals with how much fuel you keep in your tank. Myth number 15. AC always burns more gas. Many drivers avoid turning on the air conditioning, believing it's a guaranteed gas guzzler. And while AC does use extra power, the idea that it always wastes fuel is an exaggeration. Here's why. At highway speeds, rolling down the windows to stay cool actually increases drag, forcing the engine to work harder, and sometimes burning even more fuel than the AC would. In other words, on the open road, AC can be the more efficient choice. This myth likely came from older cars with less efficient systems, where AC really did make a big dent in fuel economy. But today's vehicles are designed with advanced compressors that minimize the impact, especially at cruising speeds. So yes, AC uses some gas, but not nearly as much as the myth suggests, and depending on how you drive, it could even save you money compared to open windows. But if you think staying cool comes with mixed advice, wait until you hear the next myth. It's about warming up your car, and millions of drivers still get it wrong. Myth number 14. Fresh transmission fluid ruins the gearbox. Plenty of drivers are scared to change their transmission fluid because they've heard it can actually ruin the transmission. The story usually goes like this. Someone changes the fluid on an older car, and not long after, the transmission fails. It sounds convincing, but the fluid change isn't the real villain. What actually happens is this. By the time most people finally change old neglected fluid, the damage inside the transmission is already done. Fresh fluid doesn't cause the failure. It just makes existing problems more obvious because it no longer masks the wear with thick, dirty fluid. In reality, changing transmission fluid at the recommended intervals is one of the best ways to keep your gearbox healthy and running smoothly. Skipping it for years is what creates the risk, not the fresh fluid itself. So this myth survives because people confuse bad timing with bad maintenance. The truth, regular fluid changes prevent problems. They don't create them. And speaking of maintenance myths, the next one is about batteries, and the trick people think can bring a dead one back to life. Myth number 13. Soap stops a squealing belt. For years, a common backyard fix for a squealing engine belt has been to rub a bar of soap on it. And sure, the squeal might stop for a little while, but that doesn't mean the problem is solved. The squeal usually means the belt is worn, loose, or out of alignment. Soap sprays or other quick fixes just mask the noise temporarily. In fact, adding soap can actually damage the belt's material, making it wear out even faster. Modern serpentine belts are built to last tens of thousands of miles, but when they squeal, it's a sign they need proper adjustment or replacement, not a patch job. Ignoring the real issue could leave you stranded with a broken belt and a dead engine. So while the soap trick may silence the noise for a day, it's a band-aid that hides the real problem, and in the long run, it'll cost you more than just a bar of soap. But if you think that's a risky shortcut, the next myth is even worse, because it's about driving with your fuel gauge running low. Myth number 12. No antifreeze needed in hot weather. A lot of drivers in warm regions think antifreeze, also called coolant, is only for winter. After all, if it never freezes, why would you need it? But this myth can seriously damage your engine. Antifreeze doesn't just stop water from freezing, it also raises the boiling point of the coolant and protects the engine from overheating. Without it, plain water can boil inside the system, leading to warped engine parts and costly repairs. Coolant also contains additives that prevent rust and corrosion in the radiator and cooling system. Skip the antifreeze, and you're basically letting your engine rot from the inside out, no matter how hot or cold the climate is. So whether you live in the desert or the mountains, antifreeze isn't optional, it's essential. And speaking of optional myths, the next one could leave you with a dead battery if you believe it. Myth number 11. Free check engine tests tell the whole story. When the check engine light pops on, many drivers head to an auto parts store for a free scan. The tool spits out a code, and the employee often points to a likely part that needs replacing. Sounds convenient, but here's the catch. Those free scans don't actually diagnose the problem. The scan tool only reads error codes, which can point to a system but not the exact cause. For example, a code for an oxygen sensor doesn't always mean the sensor itself is bad. It could be wiring, fuel issues, or something deeper. This myth keeps spreading because free scans feel like quick answers, and sometimes the suggested fix happens to work. But when it doesn't, drivers waste money swapping parts that weren't broken in the first place. Real diagnostics require advanced tools and proper testing by a trained mechanic. Free code readers can help point you in the right direction, but they're only the first clue, not the full solution. Myth number 10. Pulling the battery cable, test the alternator. Old school mechanics sometimes suggest disconnecting the battery while the engine's running to see if the alternator works. If the car keeps running, the alternator must be fine, right? Wrong. This is one of the most damaging myths out there. Modern vehicles are loaded with sensitive electronics, computers, sensors, entertainment systems, even safety features. Disconnecting the battery while the alternator is charging can create dangerous voltage spikes that fry those components instantly. The reason this test worked decades ago is because older cars had simple electrical systems with far fewer electronics to damage. Today, it's a gamble that can leave you with a massive repair bill. The correct way to check your alternator is with a multimeter or by having it tested at a shop, not by yanking off the battery cable. Transition. And while we're on the subject of batteries, the next myth might shock you, because it involves a so-called quick fix with some very dangerous results. Myth number 9. No need to warm up in winter. Plenty of drivers believe that modern cars don't need warming up in cold weather. You can just start the engine and hit the road. While it's true that engines today are built tougher than older models, skipping a warm-up isn't the best idea. When you first start a cold engine, the oil is thick and hasn't fully circulated. Giving your car at least 30 seconds to a minute allows oil to move through the engine and provide proper lubrication. Driving immediately and aggressively in freezing temps can put unnecessary strain on engine components. That said, you don't need to idle for 10 or 15 minutes like people used to. Modern engines actually warm up faster when gently driven. So the sweet spot, let it run for about a minute, then drive smoothly until everything reaches normal operating temperature. This myth hangs on because people confuse not needing long warm-ups with not needing any warm-up at all. The reality is your engine still benefits from a short pause before you roll out. And while warming up is all about protecting your engine, the next myth is about protection too. Myth number 8. Dish soap works fine for car washes. At first glance, dish soap seems harmless. It cuts grease, makes bubbles, and leaves things squeaky clean. So why not use it on your car? The problem is, dish soap cleans a little too well. It strips away protective wax and sealants that shield your paint from UV rays, dirt, and harsh weather. Without that layer of protection, your car's paint fades faster, rubber seals can dry out, and plastics start to crack. Over time, this cheap car wash can lead to expensive paint jobs or costly repairs. Professional car shampoos are designed with balanced formulas that remove dirt while keeping protective layers intact. Pair them with microfiber mitts and a wax every few months, and your car will keep its shine and its value for years to come. This myth persists because many people assume soap is soap, but when it comes to cars, the wrong soap can cost far more than it saves. And while dish soap might dull your car's shine, the next myth is all about a color that supposedly attracts unwanted attention. Myth number 7. Red cars attract more tickets. It's one of the oldest beliefs on the road that driving a red car is like waving a red flag at the police. While the myth sounds believable, the numbers tell a different story. According to traffic data, white cars are actually the most ticketed simply because there are far more of them on the road. Red cars do get pulled over more often relative to how many exist, but that has less to do with color and more to do with what kind of cars are painted red. Think sporty coupes, convertibles, and high-performance models, the kinds of vehicles that are driven fast and draw attention. Police radar guns and speed cameras don't see color. What gets you caught is your driving behavior, not the shade of your paint. So whether your car is red, white, or neon green, if you're speeding, you're on the radar. This myth lingers because flashy red cars stand out, and when they do get pulled over, people notice. But the truth is simple. Tickets come from the driver's foot, not the car's color. And speaking of flashy upgrades, myth number 6. Bigger battery, better performance. Some drivers believe that dropping in a bigger battery will make their car faster, smoother, or more fuel efficient. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. The battery's main job is to start your car and power electrical systems. It doesn't add horsepower or improve mileage. In fact, forcing in a physically larger or higher voltage battery can do serious harm. A 24-volt battery in a 12-volt system, for example, can fry sensitive electronics, blow fuses, or even damage the ECU. Repairs like that can run into the thousands. Now, a higher capacity battery, measured in cold cranking amps CCA or amp hours, can help in specific cases, like starting more reliably in freezing weather or lasting longer before needing replacement. But it won't turn your daily driver into a performance machine. This myth sticks around because people mix up bigger with better. The truth is, the best battery is the one recommended in your owner's manual. Anything else is just risking an expensive mistake. And while batteries get a bad rap for being costly, the next myth unfairly paints hybrid cars as money pits. Myth number 5. Hybrids cost a fortune to maintain. Many people hesitate to buy a hybrid because they think maintenance will be sky high. After all, hybrids use advanced technology, massive batteries, and complex systems. Sounds expensive, right? Not quite. While it's true that a hybrid battery can cost between $2,000 to replace, the good news is they're built to last 150,000 miles or more, often well over a decade. On the flip side, hybrids need fewer oil changes. Their brakes wear more slowly thanks to regenerative braking, and their gasoline engines don't work as hard as traditional ones. In fact, most hybrid owners end up saving money in the long run, not only on fuel, but also on maintenance. Plus, many automakers back hybrid systems with warranties of up to 8 to 10 years, giving drivers extra peace of mind. This myth comes from fear of the unknown, but the reality is hybrids are just as reliable, if not more so than regular cars, and they're usually cheaper to maintain overall. And while hybrids save money at the pump, the next myth takes us back to transmissions. Myth number 4. Manuals always get better gas mileage. For decades it was true. Manual transmissions often burned less fuel than automatics. Drivers believed they had more control and could squeeze out better efficiency. But technology has changed the game. Modern automatics, especially CVTs, continuously variable transmissions, are designed to maximize fuel efficiency far beyond what most manual drivers can achieve. In fact, today's CVTs can use up to 10% less fuel than manuals in the same car. That doesn't mean manuals are useless. They're still cheaper to maintain and for some people way more fun to drive. But if you're buying one just to save gas, you might be disappointed. In the battle of efficiency, modern automatics have taken the crown. But what about saving fuel at stoplights? That's where another stubborn myth refuses to die. Myth number 3. Shutting off at stoplights wastes fuel. For years, people swore that restarting your car used more gas than just letting it idle. But here's the truth. Modern engines are far more efficient than they used to be. Restarting your car uses only a tiny sip of fuel, much less than idling for even 10 seconds. That's why so many new cars come with automatic start-stop systems. They're designed to shut the engine off at red lights, then fire it back up instantly when you hit the gas. Over time, this saves you fuel, money, and reduces emissions. The only caveat, if your battery or starter is weak, frequent stops might wear them out faster. But with a healthy car, shutting off at long stoplights is a smart move, not a waste. And speaking of long-lasting myths, one of the most dangerous ones could actually put your life at risk. Myth number 2. Fuel additives. The commercials make it sound magical. Just pour in a bottle, and suddenly your engine is spotless and running like the day it rolled off the lot. But here's the reality. Most over-the-counter fuel additives do very little, if anything at all. Modern gasoline already comes blended with detergents that keep your engine and fuel system clean. Unless you're driving a much older car, the extra bottle from the store is usually nothing more than expensive placebo. That doesn't mean all additives are scams. In some rare cases, like high-mileage engines with carbon buildup or when using a specific cleaner recommended by your manufacturer, they can help. But for the average driver, don't expect miracles. Your engine won't suddenly feel brand new from a $10 bottle. And now, the one myth of them all. One that isn't just costly, but can actually put your safety on the line. Myth number 1. Seat belts are less safe in an accident. Some drivers still believe seat belts trap you in a crash. Or worse, that you're safer being thrown clear of the vehicle. Nothing could be further from the truth. The data is overwhelming. Seatbelts cut the risk of death in a serious crash by nearly 50%. Without a belt, your own car becomes the weapon. In a split second, you can be slammed into the steering wheel, windshield, or even ejected through a window, and the idea of being thrown clear. In real accidents, that almost always means far more severe injuries. Or worse, modern belts are engineered with pretensioners and load limiters that tighten instantly during a crash, then flex slightly to reduce injury. They're designed to work with airbags as part of a life-saving system. Skipping the belt isn't just a gamble, it's a guaranteed way to make any crash more deadly. So the next time someone tries to tell you these myths, you'll know the truth, and maybe save yourself a fortune, or even your life. Because when it comes to cars, what you don't know really can hurt you. Myths that can cost your life. Almost every myth we covered started as a small truth decades ago, but today believing them can wreck your car, drain your wallet, or even put your life at risk. And myth number 1? It's not just wrong, it's the most reckless lie still costing thousands of lives every single year. The truth is, car culture is full of half-truths and outdated advice that just won't die. And if you've fallen for even one of these, you're not alone. Millions of drivers still believe them. But now you know better, and that knowledge could save you more than just money. It could save your life.